Hey guys, this is Shivo, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to warm up before drawing and how to also improve your line work by doing this. There's multiple ways to warm up before you draw, and this is just one of the ways that I've done it in the past. And I haven't warmed up like this in years, but I used to do this like every day, and you should be doing this for at least like 5 minutes, but you can do this for like 20-30 minutes too. But so the way that I do this is I draw a bunch of circles and a bunch of cubes, a bunch of sometimes triangles, but in the 3D form, and sometimes I just draw a bunch of straight lines. And it's important to not use the straight line tool when you do this, because you want to train your stability and your line confidence. And at first it might be really hard to even just draw a circle, and the point isn't to make a perfect circle. Like, I don't think none of the circles that I drew were perfect, but the goal is to at least try to be as accurate as possible when you're doing this, because the more you do it, the better you'll get at drawing these shapes. And you can also do different kinds of circles. You can do circles that are very wide or very, very tall, but try to be consistent in the shape that you're trying to draw. And if you can't mentally think of the shape in your head, you can draw just the shape once, and then you can try to replicate it as consistently as possible. And with those straight lines, it's important as well, because for hatching, you're going to be doing straight lines for hatching, right? So this is very important for line art and for line work. If your style is not very line work heavy, then it might not be as helpful for you, but regardless, most people sketch before they get into painting, right? So regardless, either way, you're gonna want to improve your line art when you're starting out drawing. And like I said, it'll take months, maybe even years, to get to like a good point. But this warm up, it's very important to warm up like this, because you're probably warming up your muscles, your hand muscles. And it's kind of like how in sports, athletes warm up before they do sports, right? So it makes sense that you would want to warm up before you draw as well. It kind of helps you get into the creative mind flow as well. Sometimes you just stare at a blank canvas and you don't know what to draw. So instead of just staring at a blank canvas, you can start to do some kind of warm-up exercises. And like I said, it doesn't have to be this specific kind of exercise, but if you Google warm-up exercises, you'll see a bunch of different ones, and you'll actually see a lot of similar ones to the ones that I did. And I looked it up after I recorded the video, so it does look like most people do this kind of warm up before they draw, and it can be very helpful. And I also want to show like some kind of demonstration, because these are the heads that I drew right after the warm up. So I kind of want to show how I apply that line art towards the sketches themselves, because it's the same kind of line art. It's the same straight lines, hatching, shapes. I'm applying the same things that I did in the warm-up. I'm just applying it to faces, and these were done from imagination, except for the last one, the clay face. I used reference, and I looked up a model for the, what's his name, Martian Manhunter, but I drew it in a different angle. Which that's another good thing to do if you want to improve, is find a reference and draw it in a different like angle compared to the reference. But anyway, yeah, like I want to show how I apply the line art and the warm up, and how maybe the warm up can help you do a better drawing than compared to if you don't warm up. Because there's been times where I will just get straight into drawing and I didn't do any warm up, and I would feel like, damn, I should have probably warmed up before I started drawing. But these days I don't really do warm-ups. I'm not sure why. This is one of those examples of you should not do as I do, but do as I say, because I feel like this can be very helpful, even if you just do it for a few minutes before you start drawing. Every hour you should also take a little tiny break, like a minute break or even a 2-minute break from drawing, because you really don't want to get hand or wrist pain in the future, because speaking from experience and from what I've had in the past, it can be pretty painful. So yeah, definitely take breaks, not just from drawing, but also from sitting for long periods of time. You want to get up from your seat, every hour or every 2 hours. But I know that's not something that I do, even though I'm telling people to do it. But yeah, definitely check. Definitely keep in mind, because you want to keep your health in top form. Drawing the boxes and cubes can also help you with form and perspective during this kind of warm up. And it's something that I don't do that much, drawing boxes and cubes. But I think that is very important. Like, obviously, Kim Jung-gi always mentions that. And when I draw cars, I do think about boxes a lot, because I guess I can make a video about cars in the future, but a car kind of just feels like a rectangle. What's like a 3D rectangle with a cube on the middle of it. So yeah, when you draw these boxes, it might help you with perspective and form as well. And you can apply that to a lot of things, like heads and bodies, and like I said, cars and buildings. But I don't think about boxes that much when I draw, except for certain drawings. Like, obviously, when I draw like a Minecraft character, I'm thinking about cubes and boxes, because that's what they're built from. And they say you want to draw with your shoulders more than your wrists, especially for like broad strokes or like long lines, because you don't want to like get any wrist pain or hand pain in the future. I'm not really sure if I draw with my shoulder that much, but yeah, that's something to keep in mind as well, that you might want to draw with your shoulders for those really broad strokes compared to the very minor ones. I think it's a very common problem for beginner artists to have like chicken scratch lines. That's very natural. I feel like over the years, as the more you draw, the better your line work will get, hopefully. But doing this kind of exercise will maybe make it improve faster, because you'll be practicing a bunch of lines. And I feel like it's very important, like I said earlier, that you don't rely on stuff like symmetrical tools, like the ones where you draw a face in the front view and you draw one side and it does a perfect symmetrical side. Because I feel like then when you're forced to draw a face that is symmetrical, even when it's not a front view, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna struggle to draw two eyes that are meant to be on the same plane, because you've been used to using that tool of the symmetrical tool. Same thing with the straight line tool. I think in some instances you should use it in some instances, but I don't think you should rely on it too much. I think it's better. I feel like it looks more natural and better when a line is done like naturally, compared to just using a straight line tool. Also, thinking about where the light source is coming from is important, because the side that's in the shadow, you can add darker lines there, and you can add more line work there to make it darker. So the side that's in light, you can add lighter lines, and I feel like that also makes the line work look better in the drawing. And it's important to know which side is in the shadow. So sometimes it's like, some people, they put very harsh shadows, and sometimes it's when you first are learning to draw, you don't really know where to put those harsh shadows, right? You don't want to overuse them too much, but you want to put them in places that kind of make sense, like when there's an overlap between a clothing and another clothing. So, and I feel like this is another video, and it's a bit too much to add here, because really knowing where to put harsh shadows can make line work look really good, I feel like. So yeah, this is like This is kind of like aimed for people new to art or new kind of like beginners, but this kind of advice I feel like applies to every kind of artist. Every kind of artist can take this, and it might be so obvious that you already do this or you already know about this, and that's fine. But I feel like this is important to know for people that are very new and they don't know about this, or they don't know about this kind of exercises, and they need to. I feel like it's very important to improve your line art, even if you're not a very line art heavy kind of person, because it kind of leads to stiffness in your drawings if you don't have a good line art. This is gonna be one. I'm gonna make another video that's gonna be how to start learning art for beginners, like kind of like a guide on what I think would be the best things to learn at first, and like kind of like a walkthrough of it, of what I did when I was starting out. And so yeah, I'm thinking of making like 2 beginner videos like this, and then I'll start getting into like the stuff like how to draw certain things like anatomy or faces or features, facial features, and other kinds of stuff like poses. But yeah, this video, and I'll have one more, the next one, on how to start learning art, and hopefully they can be helpful for people that are new. Also, when I do line art and line work, I sometimes don't, you know what I feel like is probably more common is to erase or undo the line and then redo the line as clean as possible. But what I do instead sometimes is I just use an eraser to erase the line to my desired kind of look, or to what I want the line to be, or to fix it slightly. I don't even know if that's a good thing to do, or if I would recommend that. It's just something that I do. But yeah, I feel like because I do that, and because I don't add any preliminary sketch, I feel like it makes the final result look less stiff in my eyes, even though it might also look a bit more rough. But yeah, that's something to consider too, because it might be better to undo and just redo that line. But what I end up doing is I erase sometimes to make it more clean. But it also might make it more interesting because of a different line variations, like line thicknesses as well, instead of always having the same consistent line thickness overall. So yeah, it's something to consider as well, that I might not be doing a good thing by doing that. It's just a habit I have. But yeah, this was a pretty simple tutorial of just like a warm-up tutorial, and how that applies to improving your line work and your line confidence. I'll have more complex videos in the future, and I'll have videos where I talk about topics like anatomy, proportions, poses, heads, drawing without references, stuff that I think is going to be very relevant. It's just that this is also, I think, very important for new artists to start doing, if they're not already doing it. I probably would never put out any videos about color or color theory. I'm not knowledgeable about that, and I'm not good at that. Plus, I don't find that too fun to do. But yeah, like there probably won't be any like coloring stuff, or even stuff about rendering, because I'm not very good at rendering, or not even good at doing shadows that much. I mainly just line work and line art, and drawing anime style, and maybe semi-realism too. But yeah, mainly the fundamentals like proportions, anatomy, poses, gesture, stuff like that. So you can expect videos that'll be about that kind of stuff, instead of like color or rendering or illustration or even composition. I don't know much about that either, except the very basics. Hopefully this video was helpful. Let me know if you guys found it helpful at all. Let me know if you like this kind of format, if you would like maybe a longer video or a shorter video, there's still gonna be instances where I flip the canvas and zoom in a lot, but the speed on this time lapse should be shorter than the one I did on the sketch request video. So hopefully it's not too distracting, but if it is still distracting, let me know. And next time I can just try to record a time lapse with krita, which I did at the start of this video, but the issue with the head part is that I drew the heads too small on the canvas. But anyway, let me know if you found this helpful and if it was not too distracting, the time-lapse part. And yeah, thank you. I'll also show a quick time-lapse of all the heads I drew at the end of this video. So yeah, that was also recorded from krita, so it won't be as jarring to look at. But yeah.